Hey everyone, my name is Holly, and in today's video I am here to show you some amazing books that I think you should read for the fall season. Now, cozy reads for me are definitely going to be a little bit different than people who read contemporary literary fiction or historical fiction because I'm a pretty strict fantasy girl. I don't stray a whole lot from that, which is something I've been working on. Speaking of different types of literature and broadening your horizons, this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online tutorial platform with thousands and thousands of video tutorials that you can watch. They have so many, from learning how to analyze what you're reading, how to write better book reviews, how to create your own fantasy world, which I found so fascinating. I'll link that one down below for you. There's even cooking, music, photography, the whole shebang. I know a lot of us readers have some very ambitious goals, and Skillshare is one of the ways to get you there. On any normal day, you can sign up with Skillshare's annual subscription, which is $10 a month, which is already very affordable, but 'tis not a normal day. You can actually use my link down below in the description box and get 2 whole months free. Imagine all of the stuff that you can learn in that time frame. Skillshare is literally setting you up for success, and you can use my link to access. That rhymed and we are thriving. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and move on to the books that I think you should pick up this fall before it ends, which would be tragic. The first book I have here is Watersnakes by Tony Sandoval. Now, this is one of the most bizarre graphic novels I have ever read. It's incredibly unsettling and creepy, which is why I needed to recommend it to you today. It reminded me of a Brothers Grimm fable. The artwork within it is very haunting and full of dark and muddy undertones. You're following a young girl named Mila, and what starts out as your typical summer vacation ends up taking a very dark turn when she meets Agnes, and Mila gets tangled up in her fantastical and very paranormal journey. It's really hard to talk about this book because the synopsis spoils something that totally caught me off guard in the story, and I think I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if I had already went into the book knowing that. So definitely go into this book without knowing anything. But from the get-go, you instantly realize that something a lot more is going on than meets the eye. The story just draws you in, and it takes twists and turns, and it leads you deeper into the mystery. I was absolutely entranced by Agnes's strangeness and Mila's very bold choices, and also the enchanted landscape. The dialogue is very scarce. It really keeps your focus on the drawings that are telling the story. I didn't expect to love this one as much as I did because it is a little bit on the confusing side, but it's supposed to be. But it surprised the fork out of me, and I think it's a perfect fall read. The next book I have here is The Bowen Houses by Emily Lloyd-Jones. Now, I just recently finished this, so I will be talking more about it in my wrap-up. But man, I picked this one up on a total whim, and it was such a huge surprise to me, and I think it's a perfect horror/fantasy mix for October. It's a story about a curse and magic and reanimated corpses that threaten a nearby village. The main character is a gravedigger, which I found so interesting, and this occupation has been passed down through generations of her family. It's eerie and gorgeously written, and the plot is entirely focused on death and grief and how to let go of your past. It's literally a horror book drenched in fairy tale, and the author even confirmed that her inspiration was Welsh myths, and you can definitely see that. It's spooky and atmospheric, and with the fantasy mix within it, the author really found a great balance, and it's very cohesive throughout, and I think this is such a perfect Halloween read. The next book I highly recommend is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. Now, Stephen King is like Harry Potter. You just can't help but mention him in a fall reads video. But I wanted to mention Pet Sematary specifically because this is the book that introduced me to Stephen King and his writing and his storytelling, and I still think is a perfect place to start with Stephen King if you haven't yet. It's short, it's a very quick and easy read. This is another book that's very death oriented, but hey, it's October, it's the theme here. Pet Sematary is a story of bringing dead loved ones back to life. It becomes very unsettling very quickly and you become extremely hooked. I don't want to talk too much about the plot because this one is very well known, but I highly recommend. Now going into the total opposite direction, I have The Boundless by Kenneth Opel. I really wanted to mention a middle grade book in this list, and why not go with one of my favorites of all time. This is a classic adventure novel with a flair of steampunk. It's about a boy named Will who's traveling with his father across the continent on one of the longest trains ever built. Now this train is miles and miles long. Will suddenly witnesses a murder and he must do everything he possibly can to try and reach the front of the train where his father is to warn him. I loved this book because every single train car that Will enters is like a whole nother world. Each train car has like its own plot line. Will finds a circus car and he meets the ringmaster, and then he becomes friends with an escape artist. There's even Sasquatches in this book. So it's overall just a fun, quick read, and I think it's a really good read for fall. I found it to be very cozy and heartwarming. So for those of you who always ask me what middle grade I highly recommend, this one. The next book I would like you to read in fall is Stranger of Tempest by Tom Lloyd. Now this is an adult fantasy and I really wanted to mention it mostly because of the second half of this book. Because even though it's just following a man who joins a mercenary company, the second half follows our characters as they travel through this pitch black cavern that has monsters lurking within it, and it is so freaking creepy. If you're scared of the dark, maybe reconsider. No, I'm just kidding. Just pick this up anyways. It's great. That part of the book is told in such a way where it feels like you're within the darkness with these characters and you're hearing like skittering of these giant centipede creatures, and it's so freaking scary. It's done so well and it's definitely my favorite part in this entire book, and it does help that the characters are cracking jokes every now and then to lighten the mood a bit. Up next I have The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Haro. Now I know I've talked about this book a lot lately, but I just can't help but mention it because it's one of the most cozy reads I have ever read, and it literally feels like home. This author manages to create a story that's so unique and fresh, but also reminding the reader why books are such a great escape. Simply put, it's a book that perfectly captures the wonder of stories and the magic of words. I'm getting very deep in this video. There are two storylines that we follow in this, and they both center on our main character, January. The first is her own story. She's reflecting back on the day that she found a doorway and she was able to step through and enter into a whole new world. So yes, portal fantasy, hello. And our second storyline is in the book that we follow with January, The 10,000 Doors, which is the book that she finds and how she discovers the secrets of the universe. This author's voice is just fantastic and she adds a whole nother level to the fantasy narrative. I knew the moment I opened this that I was going to be addicted, and I was very reluctant to close it. And I will never look at doors the same, ever. That's for sure. And the final book I want to mention in this video is Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendar Blake. Now this is an older YA fantasy, but I still think it's worth mentioning because I enjoyed the heck out of it. I feel like if you're not into scary books or you just want something a little bit on the lighter side, I highly recommend going to this one because even though it definitely has its really creepy scenes, it's still much more on the lighter side than say like Pet Sematary. So first off, we have our main protagonist who is a ghost hunter, check, and then we have his cat who is very prominent in the story, check. And then we have this creepy ghost who I pictured as the girl from The Ring, and she haunts this house that our main protagonist goes to because he hears a rumor that it's haunted, and this ghost does not fork around. She wears a white dress that is covered in blood, and those scenes are so freaking creepy. And what makes you love this book even more is that you get the backstory on this ghost that you're following. Her name is Anna, and it just makes you like her even more. Alrighty, so those are all the books that I highly recommend that you pick up this fall, or pretty much any time of the year, but hey, it's fall, so here are my recommendations. Don't forget to check out Skillshare. My link to get 2 free months will be down below in the description box for you. Go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up because it helps me out so much, and don't forget to subscribe. I upload videos every single week. Follow me on Instagram at Holly Hearts Books and on Twitter at Holly Anise, and until we meet again, happy reading.